Hi guys, it's Fawn at Starbase Martinsburg, and since today is Wednesday, we are going to be revealing the science behind our mystery STEM activity. Today you had a chance to check out the videos that we posted, and in those videos you saw 3 different types of bottles with what looked like divers inside. When the bottle was squeezed together, the divers went to the bottom. However, when the pressure was released, they then went to the top. So this is actually called a Cartesian Diver experiment, and I will be showing you here in a bit how you can create your very own at home, and we're going to give you a couple different methods depending on what you might find at home as far as your resources go. So let's discuss the science behind what's actually going on. So here I have a 1 liter bottle that's completely filled with water. Now it does not have to be a 1 liter bottle, it can be a water bottle, it can be a 2 liter bottle, basically any type of bottle that can be easily compressed with water inside. So then you're obviously going to need some water. I would suggest to use room temperature water. If it's too hot or it's too cold, that will also affect your pressure. So just make sure it's room temperature. And here to start off, I'm going to be doing one that you typically would see in schools. And for this one, I'm going to be using a plastic pipette. All right. So to the plastic pipette, what I did was I added a little hex nut. So I took the hex nut, moved it all the way to the top, and then I cut off just the very end, so it essentially looks like this. Now for our purposes, I have created, using a permanent marker, a line that's halfway up my little pipette diver. Now that's going to allow me to know how full to fill this with water. In the video that you observed earlier, this morning, we had just regular water, but I'm going to be using colored water so it's a little easier to see what's actually going on. All right, so I'm going to fill my pipette up here with colored liquid. That way it's a little easier to see what's going on. And I've just drawn a line halfway down my pipette diver just so you can see the liquid line. So now that we have that in there, I'm going to gently drop it into my bottle. And then you can see I didn't fill my bottle completely, so I'm going to take a little bit more water and just fill it right up to the top. Just be careful not to spill it. And then as soon as it gets to the top, you'll see your diver bob to the very, very top. And then we're going to put a cap on. So now we are ready to actually test our diver. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just apply some pressure to my sides. And as soon as I apply the pressure, you're going to see the diver goes immediately down. But when I release the pressure, he goes right back up. So what's actually going on here? When I compress the soda bottle, I'm increasing the overall pressure inside, both the liquid and the air pocket that's inside my little diver. Now, the air pocket inside, that air too is compressed, which creates a lower volume. And if you keep in mind, volume is how much space something takes up. So once I increase that volume, then more liquid is able to go up inside of the diver. And that's why we've dyed it here. That way you can kind of see that water level increase or decrease as I'm either applying pressure or letting go. So once I let go, it goes back up to the top. Now this also relates to density. So again, as I apply pressure, more liquid is able to go up inside my diver. More liquid inside, less air, becomes more dense, and it goes to the bottom. When I release, yet again, that means that liquid goes back out, and I'm left with the air pocket that was there to begin with, so it becomes less dense and goes to the top. So this is tons of fun. Just keep applying pressure and releasing, and your Cartesian diver will do the same thing time and time again. Okay, so now that we know the science behind this cool Cartesian diver experiment, let's talk about what it was named after. So this diver, or any of these divers really, were named after René Descartes, a famous French philosopher and scientist. However, most historians actually believe that he was not the first person to develop this concept, but rather a favorite student of Galileo in 1648. So I'm going to be showing you here a couple of variations. You probably saw them earlier in our video. The first one's probably the easiest, and for this one, all you really need is any type of compressible bottle. Here I have a 1 liter bottle filled with water and then a ketchup packet. All right, so again, you saw this earlier. Same principle. When I compress it, I am decreasing the volume of the air pocket inside and it becomes more dense, falls to the bottom. And when I release, it goes right back to the top. So for this one, literally you just need a ketchup packet. This I picked up from like a fast food restaurant. There are obviously different types. Any of them should work as long as there isn't like a pinhole inside. So before you actually put it in your bottle, I would suggest testing it with a little bit of water. So, of course, inside your ketchup packet you have ketchup, but there's also air, so that's going to create the air pocket. So you just want to test to make sure that once you drop it down inside, it kind of floats. Now that one, not a great example because as you see there, it's kind of sinking. This one just barely floats. That's perfect, all right? So all you would need to do is fill your bottle with water and then kind of stuff the ketchup packet down inside. And in order to do that one, I just had to fold it a little bit. And of course, once it's in the bottle, then it'll go back to normal. And then once it's inside, you simply put the cap on and you're all set. That's probably the easiest version of our Cartesian Diver. All right, so the second variation you can create is actually very easy as well. This one simply requires some bendy straws and some paper clips, and you want the smaller size. So as you can see here, as I squeeze the bottle, all of my divers go down and I release, they go back up. So this one you can actually get creative and have multiple divers inside, anywhere up to like 10 if you can get creative. So to create this easy version, you're gonna need, like I said, some bendy straws. Here I have a pink one. I am going to simply fold it in half, and then with a pair of scissors, about an inch down, you're going to cut it off both sides. So let's see here. All right, now put the excess to the side. Now that you have that portion that creates your little air pocket, we're going to take a paper clip and we're going to connect the two sides together. And I'm going to leave some space here so that I can attach a second paper clip because we need to add a little bit of mass. So this is where you can get kind of fun and do different colors. I'm going to do an orange one, and I'm just going to loop it around the first one that we inserted into the straw. So now this is what your little diver should look like. And then again, just before you put it into your bottle, you're going to want to test to make sure that it just barely floats. And you can see that one does perfectly. So now I'm going to add him to my collection of divers inside the bottle. And keep in mind, your bottle size can go anywhere from 1 liter to a 2 liter. You can even do like a water bottle. Just keep in mind with the water bottle, since it's smaller, you might not be able to see it as well. So now that I've added that diver, I'm going to cap it off, move that off to the side here. And when I squeeze, all of my divers should go to the bottom, as they do. And this is pretty cool because, like I said, you can have multiple divers inside. You can change up the colors, the color of the straw and the color of the paper clips. And I've even seen variations to where you can actually place into the bottle like small rubber bands you might use for braces or for like hair ties. And you could try to make it a game. So as you go down, you can try to loop your paper clips around the little rubber bands and see if you can pull them to the top. So that is your second variation. All right, so the third and final variation I'm going to be showing you is one of my personal favorites, and this is a Cartesian Diver with a Lego figure. So for here, as I squeeze my bottle, the air tank on his back creates the air pocket, and then he becomes more dense, goes to the bottom, I release, he becomes less buoyant, and then goes immediately to the top. So for this one, you're gonna need a Lego figure. You just wanna make sure that your Lego figure isn't too wide because you have to keep in mind that he needs to fit through the top of your opening. So for this one, I would highly suggest using either a 2 liter bottle or a 1 liter bottle with the same type of lip on the top. That way he can fit through. And in order for that to happen, regardless of what type of figure you use, you need to make sure that you take his arms and put them up like he's reaching up for the sky. Otherwise, he won't fit into the bottle. So I'm going to be using my Hercules Lego figure here. And then we want to be able to add some mass to the bottom of him. So before we do anything with the air tank, we're going to take some paper clips. And these are pretty convenient because in the back of my Lego figure, there are 2 holes in each of his legs. So I'm going to take my paper clip and I'm going to simply clip it onto his leg, just like we did the previous diver. Now, I've already experimented with this guy, and I've found that for him, I need to have a total of 4. So I've evenly dispersed them so that there are 2 on one leg and then 2 on the other leg. Now for the Green Lantern figure that I have in here, I needed a total of 6. So I had 3 and 3. So it's just going to depend on the actual starting mass of your Lego figure. So you might have to experiment with that. And again, I would suggest placing him in your smaller container of water before you place him in the bottle. Because if it doesn't float, then you have to pour everything out to get your figure out. So again, I have a total of 4 on my Hercules figure. Now we're going to make his air tank. So this is where we're going to need a bendy straw. So I'm simply going to take it, I'm going to open it up, bend it around to make that U shape. And then, like we did before, we're gonna cut it off here. And I'm gonna cut off a little less than an inch because we want that tank to fit securely on his back. Now we have to keep in mind it's going to go below his actual head. So before I go any further, I'm going to take a piece of Scotch tape and I'm just going to tape that around. That way it's kind of secures that U shape in place. And then once I have that taken care of, it'll look something like this. Then I'm going to take it and I'm going to, oh, I lost a paper clip. Make sure I put that one back on, or otherwise we're not going to have enough mass. So now we're going to take his air tank and we're going to place it on his backside. I'm going to use another piece of Scotch tape. You could at this point hot glue it to him. I just don't have a hot glue gun available at the moment. So I'm going to be using some Scotch tape here to kind of wrap it around his body. Doesn't have to look pretty as long as it's functional. So now that we have that air tank on, I'm going to place him inside of my testing container and just make sure he just barely floats. All right, now he doesn't look too bad there. So, moment of truth. Once I get my 2-liter bottle here, you can see I've already filled it most of the way up with water. I'm gonna place my Lego figure. Again, this is where it's important to make sure his hands are directly up. That way he fits perfectly. He should just fit inside. So I'm gonna place him in. All right, then I need to fill it completely with water. So I'm gonna take my extra container and I'm gonna carefully, so it doesn't spill here, pour it in so it just goes to the top. You can see he went to the top then. I'm gonna cap it off and this is where the fun begins. Hopefully when I squeeze, he's gonna go to the bottom. So when I squeeze, ta-da, I have increase the volume of the air pocket inside and he went to the bottom. So this is cool because if you are able to, I don't know if we can catch this with the camera, if you watch the back of the air tank, you should be able to see as I compress the bottle, the liquid level change, just like we did earlier with the pipette. So this is something you guys can do at home. As I compress the bottle, you can see the air level, or the water level, I'm sorry, changing as I increase or decrease the pressure. So this is our third and final version of our Cartesian Diver. Like I said, this is my personal favorite, but if you don't have Lego figures at home, no worries. You can definitely try our clip version, or you can have several, or you could try our ketchup pack version. All those are fun ways you can experiment with Cartesian Divers at home. So we would love for you guys to test them. So if you make any of the variations, or if you even try all 3, that's perfect. But we'd love to see your videos. So in the comments, we're gonna link directions on how you can kind of share your videos with us. That way on Friday, we can show all of our Facebook followers your awesome creations. Thanks for tuning in.